How to realize your potential. I'm going to be talking about this on the blog as a theme for August for the month. I think it's so important because I think so many people are lost right now, and it's easy to understand. The world has gone batshit crazy, and everyone's feeling it, which is good because everyone's going through this at the same time, so know that you're not alone. As you know, if you follow me, I talk a lot. I talk only about spiritual personality typing. But I do follow Carl Jung first and foremost. I love that he talks about it's analytical psychology. And let me just explain this. It doesn't have to be complicated. So analytical psychology is more about individuation, like being present with yourself. He also speaks in how he defined it was in folklore, mythology, and he uses a lot of cultural references, which I've expanded that into being present with your spiritual self too. And I think that's where the folklore and mythology fit, because one thing that Jung did that was very different from Freud is that Jung believed, beyond what Freud believed, that we are only a product of how we were been programmed since childhood and how we're continually programmed in society. That's what Freud stopped there, and Jung said, no, there's an aspirational aspect. And that's where, for me, the spiritual aspect comes into play. Because once you start tapping in to the spiritual, let's say metaphysical, for you, it could be religion, it could be spiritual, it could be, like, I'm very much into nature. And I look at nature as very inspiring to me. And nature connects very deeply to me. So there's different ways to be inspired. There's different ways to be aspirational. And aspirational doesn't just necessarily mean career. And it certainly just doesn't mean money. Because we're seeing this now, the Great Resignation. So people are figuring out that your life is more than sitting in a cubicle or amassing money and things and all that stuff. But there's something missing. And I think one of the biggest things I want to talk about to help you find your potential, and there's a journal prompt in there, is that you really have to take time for reflection. Take time for stillness. Take time to sit with yourself and figure yourself out. We're not told to do this. Actually, in society, we're programmed to do just the opposite. Stay busy, do this, work hard, blah, blah, blah. All that does is separate yourself from yourself. Because when you're so busy, you're not taking time to figure out who you really are. You're just in the process of doing and being busy. And when you stay in that process, what happens is you disconnect from your soul self. The way to connect into your soul self is taking time for reflection. It's starting your day speaking to that soul self, which is the higher self, which is connected in to universal consciousness, the light of the universe. God, divine intelligence. I always like to call it divine intelligence because it's unlimited. There's that unlimited potential. So that's what you connect into. That's where you can aspire from. Not from the limited, fear-based narrative programming that's out in the world. That's somebody else's programming. That's not you. That is not you. And here's the thing. When you don't know your potential, when you don't know who you really are, and who you really are, honestly, is an eternal soul, a fractal or a fragment of universal consciousness, of that light of all there is. And and there's a but to this, but you're here to experience life through a human perspective. That's how your soul communicates. It communicates through you. So it obviously has to communicate through your personality type, through your persona. You're not your personality type. I say this all the time. But the cool thing is, your soul self speaks through your personality type into your personality, allowing you to take inspired actions. Instead of what so many people do, so many people will copy another. They'll try to compete. They'll try to be something that they're not. Like introverts will try to show up as extroverts because we've been taught that you have to be aggressive to be successful. That's not true. That is not true. So there's going to be a lot more on the blog. There's a journal prompt. And I go into some ways to help you look at yourself from a different perspective, to untangle yourself